where you've got to say, we must attack on Monday, we must use the following forces, we must attack from the left and the right, and these are your reserve forces, all of that. That's what the Chief of Staff does, to prepare that, so that the commander of the unit can then give the combat order based on that kind of preparation. So that's the training we're doing. Which, of course, I have to take into account that we're talking about an armed struggle in South Africa. So you've got to take into account the actuality of the situation. It's not, you don't have forests and mountains and jungle and all that. So how do you conduct a military struggle in a situation like that? So no, that kind of training.
Some of your biographers have commented that you seemed much more comfortable with a book than a rifle, and your time in Moscow was really a flourishing for political ideology rather than a military training for you. Did you return to the African continent after your time in Moscow feeling like a soldier or like an ideologue?
No, you see, I think for some of us, certainly some of my generation, the involvement in the struggle was, in a sense, multifaceted. So when I was in the Soviet Union, in Moscow, part of the time was in political education, and some of it in military thing. Yes. Because as a matter of normal course, you knew that it must be possible for us to participate in all of the forms of struggle in which organization is involved. If there's military actions, you must be able to say something about that, to contribute positively. There's work of political organization, mobilization of the people, organization of the ANC structures and so on. You must be able to do that. Engagement, the apartheid regime has got its own ideological and political perspective. And they broadcast all these messages. The reason we have apartheid is this and that, to justify the system. You must be able to engage that discussion, your counter position. So the understanding of the politics becomes important. You got to mobilize the rest of the world to say, please join in this anti-apartheid struggle so that together we defeat this common enemy of humanity. So I'm saying that you need all of these various skills.
Yes. A revolutionary's toolkit.
So, yeah. You couldn't avoid that.
Sure.
You couldn't say that, no, I'm just a professional soldier. And if you say, no, but I want you to do this political work, you say, no, no, you can't. Yeah. As part of the liberation movement, you had to have the capacity to be involved in all elements of this liberation struggle.
One last question on your time in the Soviet Union. Frequently, independence movements seek allies abroad, and in seeking those allies, they find the enemy of their enemy is their best friend. Did you, I suppose, how should I put this? Did you find that there was another empire there in the Soviet Union? Did you see the Soviet Union as a utopia, or did you see the negative aspects of it when you were there in 1969, 1970?
No, the general posture that we took was that, we've got a major problem, a major challenge in South Africa to defeat this apartheid regime and let South Africa become a democratic country. It's a major challenge. And we want the whole world to support us, everybody. And of course, what you then get is that the countries in the rest of the world respond differently. Soviet Union, Sweden, other Scandinavian countries say, we're with you in the struggle. Then the British government, the Americans, and so on, would take a different position. But I'm saying from our point of view, we wanted everybody to support. So because of that. Really, just as a matter of policy, we said it's critically important that we avoid getting engaged in anything which has to do with assessing individual countries, because we are going to get into a lot of trouble. If we say we will accept your support on condition you do the following things in your country, we can't do that. Okay. So we generally avoided this sort of comments. But the Soviet Union was a very strong supporter, quite consistently.
Did you value that support? Was it a welcome ally?
It was very important.
Okay.
They took a lot of our students to educate in the universities, ordinary students. They trained a lot of our people, the military ones, supplied equipment. A lot of the refugee populations that we had in Africa, a lot of the food came from the Soviet Union. So it was kind of all around support. And of course, they would support us at the United Nations. So the Soviets, the Swedes, Sweden was very important. They never involved on the military side, but everything else, support for the sanctions, material support in terms of food and clothing and so on, including the struggles inside the country, a very important role. But I'm saying in all instances, we said, let's get everybody to support us and avoid getting entangled in making assessments about what they are doing in their own countries.
The ANC was incredibly successful at bringing global attention to the apartheid regime in Africa. Were you aware of the efforts being made here in Ireland? And I'm particularly cognizant of Dunnes Stores, one of the grocery stores here in Ireland. The workers there refused to handle South African goods during the 1980s. It ended up being one of the longest industrial disputes in Irish history. Were you aware of those actions that were being carried out at a local level, and how much did they mean to you?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, I remember the Dan strikes.
Dunnes Stores, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure. No, but you had here in Ireland, one of our leading people, Professor Kada Asmal, an ANC member, was at Trinity. I mean, I came here, I did an anti-apartheid meeting at the University of Cork.
Tell us more about that.
No, it was.
What was that like?
It was very good. The Irish anti-apartheid, they arranged this meeting.